Right. And you have no issue seeing me like this, correct?
No, you're. Okay, also Abdulrahman, Samir, and Lajain joined us. All of them are from participating teams. They have wonderful
Hi, everybody.
ideas. Here's also Osama, our events coordinator.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Lara.
Hi, Osama. How are you?
Fine, and how are you too?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you very much.
So Osama and Abdulrahman, can you help Selma in calling everyone to join? I made you both presenters. Just call the people who are invited. Okay, that's good. So I think 1 more minute and we can start our chat.
Okay, sounds good.
Hello?
Hello, Obada. Obada is also one of the members of the teams participating in Hult Prize.
All right. Hi, how are you?
So he disconnected, maybe connectivity issues.
Am I connected?
Yes, you are. You are.
Oh, okay.
So Selma and Osama, have we called everyone?
Yes.
All right. So we can start now.
Okay, great.
Yes, I'm doing that.
All right, should we get started?
Yes, please.
All right. So hi, everybody. My name is Lara Bellone, and I'm so happy to be able to speak with you all today in this discussion, Food Across Cultures. I hope through this discussion to enhance your learning about food in different countries and potentially help you in designing your projects for food security. I want to thank Raed for coordinating this discussion today. Raed is a main collaborator for my social initiative Girl Bent, which I founded this year, and he created our lovely website. So thank you, Raed, for doing that. Girl Bent is a social initiative that shares culture, travel, and social justice issues in the Middle East and North Africa region. Girl Bent has allowed me to share foods from around the world and people's stories behind it. Today, I will be sharing examples and experiences from Girl Bent in regards to food across various countries. So a little bit more about me. I've worked with refugee populations with NGOs in different countries. I am a writer and I have also extensively traveled. So I'll be sharing some of my personal experiences today as well. So food is something that has been present throughout history. Humans need it to survive. We have historically fought wars over land and resources to be able to provide food. And a lack of food resources can do serious harm to populations. With increasing food insecurity rising due to factors such as climate change, The need for food solutions is critical at this time. When we think of food in this context, it's a very serious issue because food is an essential human need. But food is more than just a need. Food is what brings people together and unites communities and nations by building a common identity. Through exploring food, you can better understand a country's community and individuals. And food can allow you to enter people's homes, minds, and hearts in just a single bite. I have learned through traveling that the easiest ways to learn about a culture and society is through the food that people eat. Through food, you can learn about celebrations, religion, climate, and even the types of society a region or country is. In this discussion, I want to specifically focus on how food is culture, food is social, and food is identity. Okay, so I'd like to start by asking you a question, and we can have a bit of a discussion. I would like for you to share with us a food that is significant to you and what it says about your culture. So I can start by giving an example. So in the United States, we just celebrated a holiday called Thanksgiving. This is a holiday that everybody across the US celebrates, and it's a time to be thankful for our family members and our friends. It also is a part of our history when the Pilgrims came from England to our country, so we celebrate this as well. During Thanksgiving, we eat turkey, gravy sauce, mashed potatoes, green beans, and pumpkin pie for dessert, and a lot of other foods as well. So that's an example. Is there anybody that would be willing to share a food that is significant within your culture? So I think if you want to raise your hands. Let's see. Okay, I'm trying to see how to do the. Okay, so I'll just click. So I'll click on Osama.
Yes, Osama, you can speak.
Yes, here in Jordan there is many dishes for our culture. Like we have mansaf.
Okay.
You heard about that, and we have magluba.
Yes, very good.
And there is something very strange. I will not describe it, but it's called torfan.
Okay. Do you eat these foods during a specific holiday or something?
Not really. Just in like parties, special parties like weddings and family gathering, like that.
Okay, very nice. Okay, Salma?
Yes, in my hometown, Al Khalil in Palestine, we have this dish. It's called idre. It's basically rice with a lot of spices and meat. I honestly don't know the origin of it, but I know that it's a symbol of generosity in like my family. So whenever we have like this feast or this gathering, we usually give them idre or cook idre or even buy idre to give it to our people. So, but the truth is, I don't like it, but it's like a resemblance of generosity.
That's very cool. Is there a certain way that people eat it when they come together? Like, do they eat it all together in one dish, or like, is there a specific way?
No, there isn't a specific way, but it is when we actually make the rice, we don't like it comes from the name idre. We put it in like a metal pot, or it's not metal, it's like very heavy metal or something. I really don't know. But we cook it like we cook the rice in it and everything, and then we flip this pot, and then we put it in like a tray or something big, and that's how we usually eat it.
Oh, that sounds really good. It kind of sounds like how they make makluba. I know that they also like flip the pan and everything.
Yeah, it's like that, but this is like I don't know. It's like the flipping only to get the rice out because sometimes they're like leftover, like the rice is stuck on the sides. So we have to flip it out in order to get all the rice from the inside because my dad always told me that every rice counts when you're actually presenting food.
No, that's great. And honestly, I lived in Amman for a year. I just came back to the US. So when I was living in Amman in Jordan, rice is such a big part of the culture, especially in Middle Eastern countries. So I can
Yeah, that's
understand.
true. Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for sharing. Samer, would you like to share?
Yes, please. I want to talk about a special meat. Its name is hummus and falafel. We eat it every weekend with our family members, and it's maybe the cheapest meal in Jordan and the whole Arab countries, maybe. It's full of protein and it's for vegetarian, maybe. Yeah, it's suitable for vegetarian and everyone, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Now, I've eaten a lot of falafel and hummus while I was in Jordan. It's very good. And yes, this is in Jordan, there's a lot of meat that's in the cuisine. So falafel, I think, was one of the few vegetarian options, which was nice. Thank you. Does anybody else want to share? Ma'in?
Yes, thank you. I would like to talk about, there's a dish that I really like. It's called galait Pandora, which translates into, well, basically it's tomatoes in a pan. It's a traditional, cuisine native to Jordan and Palestine. It has tomatoes, onions, hot pepper, olive oil, and salt. It's really popular in Jordan. It can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And fun fact, it's actually the favorite dish of His Highness King Abdullah II.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's fun. Yes, I also tried this while I was in Jordan. I want to point out, I have Syrian background, so I was familiar with the food in Syria. And when I came to Jordan, I thought the cuisine would be similar, if not the same. But I quickly realized that even within the Middle East region, countries really do have different cuisines compared to one another. So it's good not to generalize. So like what you were saying about how this is specific to Jordan and Palestine, it does differ from country to country. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Maybe I can ask you another question. Oh, happened. Sorry. Can you share foods that you have tried that are from other countries? And you can have tried them in Jordan or outside of Jordan. And what did it teach you about the culture of that country? So I can give another example. While I was living in Jordan, I tried Yemeni food for the first time because there is a Yemeni population in Amman. And this Yemeni restaurant was delicious. And I really loved the food there. And I learned that with Yemeni food, it's a lot of bread and it's more Indian inspired than it compares to Jordan with Middle Eastern flavors. Which I thought was really interesting and had never connected India and Yemen together. Does anybody else want to share? I think I see a hand where but I'm not seeing the name. Okay. Well, Salma, if you'd like to share.
So I lived for a good portion of my life in Saudi Arabia. So I tried multiple, because there are a lot of diversity in the nationality there. We can find the Indians, we can find the Chinese people there. So I tried their food, and also I even tried the Yemeni dishes, and they're just more than delicious. I bet, I wish if I can go back there and eat their food. So one of the things that I really liked or really love is that in the it's a Yemeni dish, but it's more it's somewhere between Yemeni and KSA. It's called al-Bukhari. It's basically like mandi, or it's like rice made with steam and multiple those things. I don't know what they call them. They're like tiny types of spices, but it's so good. My favorite is when we're all done with going to the beach and everything, and just sit down and eat it. It's the best.
Oh, that sounds really good. I definitely have to try that in the future.
Yes, you have to.
Yeah, thank you. Batul, would you like to share?
Yes, hi, firstly. So there's a dish, it's an Indian dish that I love. It's called butter chicken or something, because it's originally Indian, but we make it at home. I eat it in restaurants, so it's super delicious, and it represents how the Indian cuisine in general is so rich with all these flavors. And plus, I love the Mexican food also. The burritos are,
Yes.
yeah, and tacos and everything.
That's great.
It's
Now,
just,
sorry.
yeah, no, I'm done.
Okay, great. No, I'm from the US and we have a lot of Mexican cuisine influence, and there's a lot of restaurants that serve Mexican food, so it's one of my favorite cuisines as well. I think somebody else has their hand raised, but I can't see the name.
So you just click on attendees, you will see Man and Bashar. Yes.
Okay, Bashar, would you like to share?
Yes, I actually have a funny story about. I've been to the US in 2017. I met with a graduate friend who used to be in our school, and he invited us for dinner. He's Palestinian. I ate the first time Gidre, Gidre al Khaliliya. I ate it in Los Angeles in 2017. I was shocked how delicious it was. Ironically, I like people in Jordan. They already make it in Palestine in the regional country here. But I ate it on the beach. It was delicious.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Sorry.
I was gonna say, like, I can invite you to literally every event we have in the family. You can eat as much as you want. So please.
Okay, I might take you up on that offer. That sounds really good.
I also have this fun story that also when I went to the US, I tried sushi for the first time. I tried Mexican food for the first time. So not only the American food, but also food from everywhere. But I tried it in the US also for the first time.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm going to talk about. The US, we have burgers, and mac and cheese and pumpkin pie, I guess. But most of our cuisine is from other countries because we're a melting pot of different ethnicities. So I'm so happy that you tried that food in the US. Okay, so I think that I'm going to continue the discussion now. Thank you so much for participating and for your lovely answers. They're super informative, so thank you. Okay, so moving on to our discussion, I want to focus on how food is cultural, social, and provides identity. So first, food tells us about people's cultures. For example, specific foods are eaten during certain holidays, such as desserts during Eid and Christmas, or as I explained, Thanksgiving. Another example of food defining culture is religion. Religion affects what foods a group of people eat. For example, in Muslim countries, as most of you are well aware, people do not eat pork and they eat halal. Being conscious of which foods are acceptable and not within religious and cultural contexts is very important in developing projects. For example, I worked in Moria refugee camp in Greece. The food that was being distributed by the NGOs was not halal, so the people living in the camp would not eat the food, causing people to go hungry. Further, the food being served was not familiar to people who are used to Middle Eastern and African cuisines. So there was no rice being served, no flatbread. This also caused the people not to want to eat the food. This was a mistake on the NGOs and other organizations' part, because they should have been more culturally conscious when they developed their food distribution program. So moving on, food is social. You can determine the type of society a group of people are based on how they gather and eat food. For example, in many Middle Eastern countries, people will eat from the same dish, showing a more collective society. Whereas in Western countries, this is less common, showing a more individualistic society. Food is also social in the sense that it creates social initiatives and projects that enhance vulnerable communities. So for example, I interviewed a Syrian woman named Lubna, who had opened her own Syrian restaurant in Gaziantep, Turkey, after she was displaced from Syria. She now cooks Syrian food to her new community and is able to provide income for her household. She is also able to support other local Syrian women who make homemade products by selling them in her restaurant. Another example of food as a social initiative is through the Zarqa Life Center, which is in Jordan. They are developing a women-led project in creating agriculture in the local community. This project is a powerful way to tackle food insecurity and improve socioeconomic conditions for communities in Zarqa. My colleague is actually raising the funds for this project, and she's hoping that this will serve as a model to expand to other communities in Jordan. If anybody is interested in this project, feel free to reach out to me and I can send a link with more information. So lastly, food is identity. Based on the amount of diversity of food within a country, you're able to understand if a country is ethnically diverse. So this kind of goes back to the example with Batul. For example, in the United States, we have many different cuisines that we eat every day due to the mix of ethnic backgrounds within our country. Within US cities, you'll find Chinatowns, Little Italies, and other specific ethnic neighborhoods serving their food. The same can be seen in Britain, where Indian food is prevalent due to the large population of Indians living there, particularly in London. Food can further provide identity for people living in different regions of the same country. For example, in Mexico, food greatly differs based on the region you are in. Food has to do with the resources that are available in that specific area. For instance, in Veracruz, Mexico, which is located by the sea, they eat many dishes containing seafood, such as seafood stew. Whereas in the region of Puebla, Mexico, you have more of a dry climate, so they grow more chilies and corn, which is good for making moles and sauces. This shows that it's nearly impossible to characterize large countries with one specific food due to the geographic diversity within a country. Food gives groups and regions identity, so it is no surprise that people preserve their food wherever they go. Today, we face the largest refugee crisis, with people forced to leave their home countries due to war, climate change, and persecution. When people leave their home countries, they continue cooking their traditional foods as a way of preserving their culture and identity. This can be seen with Lubna and her Syrian restaurant. When I worked at the camp in Greece, the community center would host Congo night and Bangladesh night so that people could share their traditional foods with others. This gave people a sense of joy and pride. Therefore, food is more than just a need for refugee groups, since it is a way for them to pass their native identities to their children. And their children may not be able to experience their parents' homelands in the future, so food is essential. Okay, now that we have completed the discussion, I would like to share different dishes from different countries around the world. How this will work is I'll put up my PowerPoint and I'll show you the photo of the food, and I'd like you to try to guess what the food is and where it is from. Okay, so let me share my screen. Where is the screen? Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So food around the world. Okay, does anybody want to guess what food this is? Raed, do you mind calling on people just so I can keep my screen up?
Okay, so Batul raised her hand.
Okay.
No, I'm not actually sure, but I guess this is pumpkin and carrots. And it looks like the thing that people put inside the turkey in Thanksgiving or something, but I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah, okay, that's a good guess. Does anybody else want to guess?
Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I think it's a Mexican dish or something, because we have the bread. I think these are carrots, potato, and pumpkin alongside meat. So maybe it's Mexican.
Okay. All right, so I'll share now what it is. Those were some good guesses, thank you. So this is actually Somali beef stool with injera. So basically in Somalia, they have a lot of camels and beef and cattle that live there. So Somalis actually eat beef with almost all of their meals, eat chicken that much, which I thought was interesting. Also, injera is the flatbread that you see underneath the dish. This flatbread is essential to Somali meals and is made from flour and wheat. So those were some good guesses, but this is from Somalia. Okay. All right. So let's do the next one. So Ra'ed, if you want to call on anyone that has a guess.
Yes, your hand.
Okay.
I think it's something Indian or Chinese. No, I think it's Indian because of like the way it's actually presented, because they use kaju a lot. I think that's kaju or shrimp. I really don't know. But I can see a lot of spices in it.
Okay, so this is shrimp, which is on top of it. So does anybody else have any other guesses? No?
Osama.
I think it's something Asian like Chinese or Japanese food, because there is two sticks that which they eat with it, and I see
Okay.
I think like noodles or something like that.
Okay, good. So it is noodles, and the two sticks are called chopsticks. All right, so so this is pad thai, which is actually the national dish of Thailand, which is in Southeast Asia. So some of you weren't too far off. It is an Asian dish. So pad thai was actually created in the 1930s by the Thai Prime Minister, and it was a part of his nationalistic agenda in creating a Thai identity within the country. Also, this was created during the time of World War II, and Thailand was suffering a serious rice shortage, which is one of their main foods that they eat. So the Prime Minister was trying to get people to eat more noodles than rice so they could save on the rice. Okay.
يس كمان في ملاحظة جميعا. لارا حكت لي إنه حابة الكل يشارك، فأي حدا بحس إنه language barrier موجود احكوا لنا بالعربي، والorganizing committee members رح يترجموا اللي حكيتوه للارا. So tell us، خبرونا. Thank you, Lara. I just told them your note.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody want to guess what this dish is?
It looks like it's something from Greece or Mexico. Now I can tell it's Mexico because it's talking about regional cuisine, yeah. But it seems like it's like some sort of a taco, but a different type of taco.
Okay. Yes, you got it, actually. Good job. So these are... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
It's taco.
Yeah, it is tacos. Good. So you said that they looked a little different, Salma. These are actually more of the traditional tacos, whereas in the U.S. we've kind of changed the Mexican cuisine. We also changed a lot of other cuisines as well. But these are more the traditional tacos. I put the map on the side showing that the regions of Mexican tacos. And what I wanted to share actually about Mexican tacos that's super interesting is that Spain was invaded Mexico in the 1500s. And so they were influenced by the Moors, which are North African Muslims. And so when the Spanish came to Mexico, they brought with them their cuisine, which was influenced by the Moors. So actually, some of the spices in Mexican cuisine have Middle Eastern influence and traveled, such as cumin and cloves. Actually, our partners with Girl Bint Al Fusaic, they write a really interesting article on this if you're interested in learning more about Middle Eastern influence in Mexican food. Okay, this is going to be a hard one, but can anybody guess which country this dish is from?
We have Batul.
Okay, I can't guess the country, but I just can see the almonds and cabbages and eggplant.
which we really use a lot in Jordan. And I guess this is some sort of sausage or meat.
Okay. Anybody else want to guess?
I'm checking. No one yet. I guess it's South African or something like this.
Okay. So this is called Ras Asfour Bel Karaz with stuffed eggplant. It is on the top. This is actually an Armenian dish. And the Ras Asfour is made out of beef, nuts, and soaked in cherry sauce. And then stuffed eggplant, you'll find various forms of it within Armenia because they use eggplant a lot in their cuisine. So this was actually a meal that I ate in Beirut in the Armenian neighborhood. And I wanted to share this because Armenians are spread across many different countries. They're not just in Armenia, including in Syria, Lebanon, and even in Jordan. And the Armenians have really been able to preserve their culture and identity through Armenian neighborhoods, language, and their cuisine. And their cuisine is delicious, so I really recommend trying it. Okay, and this is going to be the last one. Does anybody have any guesses?
There's Zaid.
All right.
I think that it's a type of dessert called tiramisu, I think, something like this.
Okay, that's not a bad guess, but it's different.
It
Anybody
contains coffee.
else? Sorry?
I think that this type of dessert contains coffee inside it.
Okay. So it's not tiramisu, but tiramisu is very good.
We have Selma kaman.
Is it something from England or like a British or a European country?
Actually, it is not.
Oh,
So
okay, then it's not what I have in mind.
It's okay. So like this type of dessert, the texture, like I could understand why you would think because a lot of countries do cream desserts like this. So this is actually called Natilla. So Natilla is a cream custard dessert that's eaten in a lot of Spanish-speaking countries, such as Colombia, Peru, Costa Rica, Cuba, and even in Spain. And this is a traditional dish and dessert that's eaten during Christmas time. Okay. So that completes the activity. Thank you for those who participated. I hope that you enjoyed the activity and were able to learn some dishes. And I hope that you're not too hungry like I am right now. But also, like, please follow Girl Bent, the initiative that I do. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We now have a YouTube channel. And also make sure to check out the website that Ra'et created. And I can also share this with you afterwards as well. Okay, so you can see me, right?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much, Lara, for this wonderful presentation.
Yeah, of course. I'd just like to conclude by saying that when you're creating your security projects for food, it's important to get it right because food is not only a need, it's a significant part of a person's identity and everyday life. When you work in a food setting, you're not just filling stomachs, but you're filling people's souls as well. And that's why I creating your projects to be aware of the cultural context because you need to understand what food means to a specific region or community. And by understanding the food culture, you'll be able to impact the people you are targeting more effectively. So thank you so much for listening to my discussion, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time. So if anybody has any questions that they'd like to share, please feel free. Well, oh yeah, Salma.
What's the type of food that you don't like or you prefer not to eat? Since you travel, I think, all around the world and you tried multiple dishes, is there something that you didn't like or just didn't like the texture or maybe, you know?
Okay, so that's a hard one. I don't know. I love food, so a lot of the times I really embrace the food. I definitely have ones that I prefer over other ones. But I think when I was visiting Slovakia and Hungary, I had a hard time getting into their food culture, just because it was like a lot of dumplings and meat and like heavy sauces. So that was like one that was more difficult for me to get into, but they still have some good options as well. So yeah. Batul?
Firstly, thank you so much for the talk. It was really enjoyable. Secondly, I want to ask you if, aside from eating for, as you said, filling your stomach, what do you think, experiencing lots of kinds of food has taught you? Maybe something just like going out of your comfort zone when you prefer to try something that you are used to, or maybe do you think it has something with making memories and stuff with people and places?
Okay, so I definitely think food is a great way to unite with people, especially if you're from different cultures and if there's a language barrier. So I've eaten food with people that I didn't speak the same language as, and somehow we were still able to enjoy our time together and somehow communicate, because you can kind of speak through food, which is a really cool thing. In regards to learning something new when trying different foods, and stepping out of your comfort zone, I've tried foods that I wouldn't usually eat in the United States. Okay, so I'll give you an example. In southern Italy, it's actually a delicacy to eat horse, which was something I had never eaten before and not very common, we don't eat it in the US because a horse is seen as an animal that you ride around. But I tried it, and what I realized is that in certain countries, we really stigmatize different types of food that people eat, and we think it's weird and strange. But then when you're actually at the place or in the place with the people, you don't want to be rude. So you try the food and you realize that people think that some of the food that you eat is weird. Like I'm sure that you think in the US it's strange that we eat pork. Meanwhile, I love pork. So it's interesting how different cultures and countries will stigmatize different types of food, but when you're there and you actually try it, you realize that everybody has their own preference, and so it's not strange. It's important to step into other people's shoes.
Maybe I have also another question, Lara. How important it is for our teams to think out of the box and to look into culture when they're designing their solutions. Like, for example, when you mentioned the Greece camp you volunteered in, and how important it was for the volunteers to know the background of these refugees and how that impacted the food process in itself. So how important it is to our team to think about culture when they're designing their project.
Yes. In the future, even if you don't work on food projects, it's really important to understand the context of the place and the people that you're working with. Because if you don't, you could be spending project money on these resources that don't even get used and don't end up helping or serving any of the people that you're trying to target. So it's crucial to know the culture that you're working with, also in regards to food. As I had mentioned, we did Congo night, Bangladesh. A lot of the people that were at this camp were Syrians, so they wanted to eat, tabbouleh, rice, chicken dishes, this type of food, not what was being served like chili and other types of food as well. So the community center was able to be really successful in food distribution because they had a Syrian chef making the food there. Most of the people would only be eating one meal a day, unfortunately, because that was the only food that they liked to eat and were able to eat because it was halal. So it's important to know the culture. Also, I see a lot of these projects that are being implemented in countries maybe such as Jordan that are being implemented or designed maybe by foreigners who don't know the local context. So that project might be ineffective, or Jordanians or whoever they're targeting might not be interested in the project because they haven't really looked at what the people need. So it's really important to understand the need assessment as well when you're developing your project. So you know what type of food is needed, what type of access to resources, is there clean water, are they able to boil foods? So understanding sort of the background and what resources are available is also very important.
So any further questions? Lara is with us for the next, I think, 3 minutes, right? Another thing I want to add, if Lara allows me, is about however you are innovative or you come with phenomenal solutions, you also need to keep in mind the cultural context, as Lara said. For example, in Germany, they have designed like lab-made meat for vegetarian people and to reduce the amount of meat we produce every year. And after they've come so far with their project, they realized that like certain amount of people won't want this meat because they think it's lab-made and they couldn't break the stereotype. So it's important to think from like multiple angles when you do this.
Yeah, because you could be wasting time, resources, and also money, because a lot of this stuff takes up a lot of, cash to be able to do it. So that's very unfortunate. Another example I thought of with the camp in Greece is not food, but was water. So in Jordan and other countries in the Middle East, drinking from the tap is unsafe. So people don't drink tap water, which comes from the sink. However, in Europe and in the US, we drink from the tap water all the time because it's safe to drink. So people in the camp were having a serious lack of water that they were able to drink because the NGOs weren't providing water bottles and such because they just figured people would drink from the sink. However, this was not a part of their culture or practice in their native country. So people were getting super dehydrated and they refused to drink from the sink. So the NGOs and organizations really should have thought about that and considered it beforehand as well. All right, well, if nobody has any other questions right now but would like to ask in the future, feel free to reach out to Raed, who can reach out to me. I don't mind sharing my email. Also, if anybody wants any links or anything, I'd be happy to share as well. Please make sure to follow Girl Bint on social media and check out our website that Raed's created. It was such a pleasure being able to speak with all of you and hearing your responses. And so I really wish you luck with your future projects in food.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining us today, Lara. It's been a pleasure for us to meeting you even virtually. We wish you happy holidays. And let's hear from our attendees. Would you like to say something to Lara? So yeah, I think our time's up. Thank you very much, Lara.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
So إذا أي حدا عنده questions, please share them with me. Okay, إبراهيم تفضل.
يعني اليوم شو استفدنا؟
So اليوم طلعنا على other aspect من الفود challenge اللي هو الكالتشر، واللي يعني بعد ما التقيت بال 10 teams last week اكتشفت إنه يعني تقريبا ما في حدا مفكر فيه. It's so important إنه نفكر بالcultural aspect لأنه it's part of the criteria. Yes, وهي سلطت الضوء يعني على أكثر من 4 goals indirectly. أول إشي هي حكت عن no poverty، حكت عن zero hunger، حكت كمان عن inequality، وحكت عن reasonable consumption and production. فإذا بترجع للريكوردينج رح تلاقي إنه بكل part كانت عم تركز على one sustainable development goal بس بطريقة indirectly من خلال أمثلة ومن خلال مصطلحات، لأنه كثير ناس سألوني إنه كيف ممكن نشتغل على zero hunger أو في عنا ال reasonable consumption و production أو ال no poverty، فهي أعطت أمثلة.
طيب هالسؤال بس تسمح مني، ايش يعني زيرو هنجر؟
So هدف ال UN by 2030 إنه يكون as you know دايما بيحكوا إنه 3 out of 10 children around the world they don't have enough يعني food to eat. فزيرو هانجر بيعني إنه ما يكون في أطفال لسه ما عندهم أكل لحتى ياكلوا، ما في elderlies ما عندهم أكل، أو حتى homeless people ما عندهم أكل.
وصلت.
أها
تسلم راح.
عفوا هلا. يس، في أي أسئلة تانية I can help with؟
لا تمام رائد.
تمام، شكرا جميعا لوجودكم. بتمنى انه حبيتوا الوركشوب، ورح يكون the last workshop يوم الاثنين اللي حتكون mainly عن ال presentation skills مع أنس شلبي، وكمان حنجيب finalists من different countries لحتى يحكوا معكم to inspire teams يوم الأربعاء mainly أو any other day of the week. ف stay tuned وإن شاء الله رح تلاقوا ال announcements soon.
تمام رائد، يعطيكم العافية. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
شكرا، يعطيكم العافية
سلام
جميعا.
مع السلامة.